Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of You Ought to Know Live, seen and heard live every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouAutoKnowLive.com. It's part of the Hangout10.com network. And by the way, if you're watching this on archive, make sure you join us next week. We'd love to have you live Tuesday evening. I'm Dave Serio, and I'm your host of a radio program called You Ought to Know. It's seen and heard live every Saturday morning, 7 a.m. until 12 noon on daveserio.com, 7 to 8 on AM 1370. That's a Baltimore radio station. And then 8 to 10 on AM 680 WCBM, a Baltimore radio station that I've been on for 17 years. And also the last hour from 11 to 12 on AM 930, Free Talk 930 WFMD in Frederick, Maryland. So let's get things started. We've got some guests here right now. I think Dan McDermott is almost ready. He's in the spot, so we're going to get Dan on the camera. Good evening to you, Dan. How are you?
Great, thanks. I apologize. I got booted, and I'm like an expert on these things, so I don't know. I couldn't get back in, but I'm in now. Craig emailed me the link, and so that worked. Good to be here.
Good to have you. Thank you so much for being part of the show. This is your first time, and I know you've got a question about your Taurus. So we have Jose from Dynamic Automotive on the line. You also have Dave Ambitions, and it's related to waxing and detailing your car. We have Mike Lambert from the Shine Shop. So Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself first of all, and then we'll get your question.
Well, this is awesome. My name's Dan McDermott. I'm in Bentonville, Virginia. Nice to meet all you folks, Dave and Mike. And the Shine Shop guy, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Or Jose. I'm sorry, Jose. I left that.
Jose and Todd. Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Jose and Todd. Hey, guys. So I'm a newspaper publisher in Front Royal and Winchester area of Virginia, northwestern Virginia. And I'm friends and business associates with Craig Shipp, who's a friend of yours, of course.
We won't hold that against you.
I know. You let me on the show anyway. So I have a 2007 Ford Taurus.
Okay.
And it seems like half of it is brand new because I'm employing the replace this part and see if it works, and then the second part and the third, and like I joke with Dave, that Johnny Cash song, one piece at a time, but it's definitely cost me a dime.
Yes,
so I have three issues.
Okay.
I'll start with the two simple ones. One is air conditioning. I'm thinking I have a leak. I think this is not rocket science, but the air conditioning wasn't working well. It would work so I got the recharging stuff. A buddy of mine who knows more about cars than I do, we did it, and it was just ice cold. Great. And then this season, it's dead. So I'm guessing that's probably I have a leak, right? Or the compressor issue.
You have to find out the gauges on it to find out what the pressures are, if there are any. However, if it is out of refrigerant, it is going to knock the AC compressor off, and you are going to get absolutely no cold air. So we have to find out first if the AC compressor is running, meaning the clutch part, the outside of the compressor. If that's running, then you may have another problem. If it's not running, it may mean that you don't have power to it anymore because the AC refrigerant has gotten so low that it's cut off power to the AC compressor. So the first thing you do is hook gauges up to it, find out what the gauges read as far as pressures, high side and low side, and if they don't read anything, then we have to charge it with the proper amount of refrigerant. One of the things that I want to mention to you about your backyard mechanic doing is just adding refrigerant. With the R134A systems, you have to be very careful. Just adding a pound or a pound and a half or half a pound of refrigerant can sometimes cause a problem more than just not doing anything. The systems are very, very picky about how much refrigerant is in there, and having even 3 or 4 ounces off of too much or too little can cause a problem with the AC system. So these new systems that we're seeing advertised on the market right now, I think they're calling it Ice Pro or AC Pro or whatever. It's not what we would call in the business the right way to do it. When I'm sure Jose and Todd will back me up on this, whenever we get an AC system in that is not working properly, one of the first things we do is put gauges on it to find out what the pressures are, and then we'll usually evacuate that system down completely so we can get down to ground zero of the AC system and then charge the system with the exact amount of refrigerant with dye to try to find out. Jose and Todd, any comments on that?
No, I think you covered it 100%. Yeah, I mean, pressures are critical in the air conditioning system, and You know, just a little off, too much refrigerant, too little, can certainly throw things way out of whack. But it certainly sounds like probably there's a leak somewhere in the system.
What we do also is add a dye into the system. So after we charge the system up, we're able to check for a leak, and we use a black light to spot where the leak is coming from. And usually after a test drive, it'll leave a trace where the leak source is, and then we'll give you an estimate on the failed component that is leaking.
Okay, so this isn't something you get the neighbor who changes your tire or whatever.
No.
This is something you take to a real guy or girl and yeah, a pro. Okay.
And Dan, if you stick around for a few minutes, I'll give a presentation later. I'm talking about finding oil leaks with ultraviolet dyes. So I have an example of some ultraviolet dye.
Oh, sure, sure.
It's the same stuff that you use in the AC system.
Okay.
All right, Dan, what else you have?
Okay, I'm sharing the show to my followers here. Very cool HOA. I'm getting advice on my car issues live. Check it out. Okay, so sorry, I'm just.
That's okay.
That's great. That's great.
Okay.
The next thing I have is.
By the way, let the viewers know.
Sir?
Let your listeners know, your viewers know that they can see this on YouAutoKnowLive.com.
Okay. Okay. I shared your event, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. So the next thing is heat. So I have no season that I'm comfortable except for like the 2 weeks. You know, it's perfect. So I think we've tried everything on the heat, and we're down to the heater core. So a guy at AutoZone, who is this old cranky guy but knows a lot of stuff, he suggested what he does, because on the Taurus it's a real pain in the you-know-what, and on most vehicles it's a hassle, the heater core.
Right.
So what he suggested was, he said switch your hoses and blow it out reverse.
Okay. Well, that sometimes works, but it does usually damage the heater core. In most cases, it usually will. That much pressure going in there will get a clog out if that's the case. Always a possibility, but it doesn't usually last too long. It is temporary, in my opinion. What do you say, Jose?
Go ahead.
Well, I have seen actually in this shop heater cores on Ford Tauruses that have plugged up. It has to do something with their location and the way they bypass it. That's not a direct heat. I think there's a bypass hose that goes around the heater core as well. So they are real susceptible to clogging. We have been successful in the past of removing both heater hoses from the heater core and actually using a hose, a garden hose, and back flushing them. And we have had pretty good results, but yeah, it depends on how plugged up it is as well.
It's usually a temporary fix, and the bottom line is if the heater core has a clog in it, back flushing it won't last. The clog will continue to get thicker and bigger, and the end result is replacing that heater core and flushing the entire system, and then you've got good heat coming through when you need it, wintertime.
Is it kind of like this? Like it's a clog of gunky stuff, and it's by reverse blowing through it, you're going to kind of like detach it and move it this way, and so for a while it's going to be okay, but eventually it's not really exiting it, it's just shifting shape, and it's going to kind of clog back again. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes. When you use the garden hose, as Todd was saying, you're actually going to flush it out of the system. You're not going to reintroduce it into the cooling system of the vehicle. You're going to flush it out of the system. So you'll get most of the clog out, but I emphasize most of the clog. Some of it is still going to stay in there, and eventually the sediment from the rest of the system will start to gather in there again, and you're back to square one. So the best repair is to replace the heater core with the new heater core, and then flush out the system completely so you have clean antifreeze and water flowing through there, and the problem is solved.
The only good news I can tell you right now, Dan, is you're having air conditioning problems and you're having heating problems. Pray now for an AC evaporator to be your problem, because it lives in the same place the heater core does. So if you do all the work at the same time, you've saved yourself a lot of money by having another problem. You don't want to have an AC compressor problem on top of a heater core problem. You want to have the evaporator, and that would be the best problem to have with the heater core.
So I should have the same guy do both at the same time.
Well, the AC evaporator is not going to flush out. That's going to be a leak. So the only way to cure that problem is to replace it.
Okay. So my third issue, which is a real situation, I have I keep blowing. It misses, and I keep blowing my my coil, my ignition coil.
Okay.
Literally, I've replaced it 5 times in a year.
Always the same one?
Yeah, I mean, I go to home wherever it is, and I've tried one from Napa, and I've tried a cheap one from AutoZone, right? So the $110 one and the $40, $60, $80, whatever from AutoZone. So I've literally replaced it 5 times, and it's lifetime warranty. So I just go in and hey, it's me again, I give them, and they swap it, and then it's fine for either 2 weeks or 2 months, or in one case 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then it starts missing again, and you can't get over 25 miles an hour uphill, that kind of thing. So the mechanic.
Is it one coil for the whole engine, or does it have individual coils?
It's a single ignition coil. It's kind of mounted in the front, and all 6 of the spark plug wires go on it. And so my question is this: the mechanic I deal with, he's a local guy, former Ford mechanic, right? So he knows something about Fords, and he suggested that it could be the computer, the ECM, but he said to try putting the Motorcraft plugs and new wires first and a new coil, see if that fixes it.
Yep.
My question is, I've got that stuff, and I'm going to do it in the morning. I'm obviously going to wait for my car to cool overnight before getting back there. So my question is, if that isn't the problem, then I probably got a computer problem. Do you know?
I think that's a rare situation. I think you've been dealing with what I would hate to say, but probably poor quality parts more than likely. We have a little joke in the industry. You have a lifetime warranty, and you spend a lifetime replacing it. Yeah, that happens a lot. So,
but it's definitely not the coil, because, like I said, it's literally 5 different ones from AutoZone and 1 from Napa, and I said I want your best one.
Wow.
And so it was like $110. So now I've replaced it 6 times in about a year. So clearly it's not just random defective ignition coils. It's got to be either the computer, which you're saying is rare, or it's got to be the plugs or wires, right? But I've replaced both.
I would replace the plugs and wires and coil with Motorcraft parts, and I think you're going to be successful. I hope. There is, I guess, a possibility that the ECM could be setting too much power to it, too much voltage. But I would think, Todd, back me up on this, wouldn't the computer itself recognize that?
Well, first, the computer probably doesn't supply the voltage to that. The computer simply supplies the ground to fire the coil. The coil is probably supplied off of an ECM relay or something along those lines. Probably have to get into a wiring schematic to find out exactly where the coil's getting its power from.
What year is it?
07, and that's what one of the guys said. He said, you might not need a new ECM, which would be expensive. It's like $400. You might just need, what'd you say, a relay or a module or something?
Yeah, depending on where that coil gets its power supply from. It probably doesn't come directly out of the engine computer. It gets its power from probably an outside source, but then the PCM controls the ground signal, which the ground is actually what fires that coil to the different cylinders.
I wouldn't think the coil's getting too much power from somewhere, and I would have thought it would have been individual coils on a 2007.
Well, it's probably a 12-valve engine.
Yeah.
It's not the Duratec, which would be a 24-valve engine.
Right.
So it's actually a overhead valve, not the overhead cam.
Right.
It's that configuration.
When the coil blows, is it literally like melted? Is there visual signs?
No, they look fantastic. They're nice, brand new looking, and because they don't last but a couple weeks, right? So it looks brand new.
It's almost like there's, the coil is providing the spark, the secondary ignition, and if you had it's almost like excessive resistance somewhere that's I don't know. That's just odd.
The behavior is there, and I've done multiple Google searches on this. That's the reason I'm here. I've tried everywhere. This is an edge case, clearly, but the behavior is this. It drives perfectly, then all of a sudden it's a little rough and it feels like it's missing. And so I replaced the plugs and the wires, and we almost were convinced it was the catalytic converter, and I almost ripped off a perfectly good complete exhaust system. Or had the mechanic do it, and then he said, you know what, I think it's missing, because he didn't think it was missing because we had replaced the plugs and the wires. So what happens is, all of a sudden, you get the code that it's missing on whatever one or two cylinders, and then you replace it, and you, so I go to AutoZone, and then I walk in there, I get a new thing, and I plug it on, and immediately it's perfect. I zero out the error code, and there's no problem at all. And then I might get 2 weeks of perfection, or 2 months, or in one case, about 5 miles before it starts.
Just in case.
I still think it's parts.
I always get a few weeks before I have to, before it's marginal, and then it just gets worse and worse.
Still.
And then I go back and I know where the tool is. They know me. I just say, hey, I have another one. You know, it's kind of.
Yeah. Well, I think it's parts, and I'd love to see what happens after you try it tomorrow and get the new Motorcraft parts on and let us know how you do. But that's where I think it's leaning towards.
And,
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's the first start.
there we go.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate you being with us. You're welcome to hang with us. We're going to talk with a couple of guys here and see what's going on. We've got Mike Lambert from the Shine Shop. Good to have you, Mr. Mike.
Good evening. How is everybody?
We're doing great. I see you got your Challenger behind you. And
Beautiful black Challenger.
What did you work on today?
1971 Jaguar E-Type V12 4-seater.
Very good. And you had the battery cables ready when it was done?
Yes, excellent, absolutely. I put the bunch of paper underneath of it, because you know what a British car is. It leaks oil. If it's not leaking oil, it's empty.
Exactly. And by the way, I have been told that if an English car doesn't leak oil when it leaves the factory, they send it back to find out why.
That's exactly right. Or as Mercedes calls it, minor seepage is allowable.
What do they smell like, or is that British cars?
What's that now?
What do they smell like? Which ones smell like horsehair?
Oh, the old German ones and the old British cars.
Yep. And there's a reason why they smell like horsehair.
Exactly
what
what
the
they
interiors are made of. Yes, sir. Well, Mike Lambert, you are from the Shine Shop. You are what I like to call an extreme detailer. You detail one car per day, and sometimes that car will eke over into another day depending on the condition. You work on all types of cars. Like, for example, you were talking about like a classic E-Type car like the Jaguar there, but also you work on everyday cars too. People who are passionate about their automobiles and want them extremely clean and protected. You do the C-Quartz Finest, which is a paint treatment which protects the paint and also brings the color out like you would not believe. And Mike, you've been doing this how long now?
We've been in business our 14th year.
Right, but you also did detailing before that too, right?
Oh yeah, I started out when I was probably 6 or 7 with my dad.
Very
Back
good.
in the Simon Eyes and the Blue Coral days.
Right, when the Three Stooges were doing the commercial for Simon Eyes, you were working with it, right?
Yeah, that's not polish, that's medicine. I remember that.
Very good, very good. So tell us a little about the C-Quartz.
C-Quartz Finest is in a group of products called semi-permanent coatings, and what they do is they actually chemically bond to the paint on your car versus, I guess, a mechanical bond laying on the surface, such as waxes and sealants do. And they increase the hardness of your paint, they increase the scratch resistance, the stain resistance, and they really do make your car look good. The metallic just pops out dramatically. I've had people here that said they had no clue that their BMWs were black metallic paint until they see it out in the sun. So it's just a phenomenal product. And the C-Quartz Finest is warranted from the manufacturer for 2 years. It's not an insurance policy. It's directly from the manufacturer. And if for some reason I get to retire soon, if you need some help with C-Quartz Finest, you just call them, and they'll even make arrangements to fly somebody in to take care of your car for you. So it's a really good company to work with. And I'm starting to see some cars that have come in from 2 years ago, and when I rinse them off, they still beat up like we just did them, and the people couldn't be more happy with it.
Fantastic. I'm one of those. As you know, I have 3 of my cars have the C quartz on them, and I could not be happier. Fantastic job.
And with the way you keep your cars and they're inside all the time, you probably get 3-4 years out of the C quartz.
Yeah, I was talking with the CEO of SRT on Saturday. We were at a car show. I was at a car show called Mopar Palooza in Southern Maryland. And Ralph Gilles, the CEO of SRT, stopped by. And since he was the guy that helped me get the color car I have, the new Viper with a striker red paint, when I saw him there, he offered to come over and autograph my car for me, which was what I was hoping to have done, since my other two cars, my other SRT cars, have been autographed. And he said as we were walking over, now he knows about the C quartz, but I don't know if he remembers because I told him about it a while ago. But Steve Sharples, head of production for Viper, knows that I have C quartz paint treatment on the car. And as we're walking over, it was a beautiful sunny day, and that striker red definitely loves the sun. And we're walking over, we're about 50 feet away from the car, and he says, "Is that paint job remarkable or what? That is just a gorgeous car." And I went, "It certainly is, and appreciate it, and it is really gorgeous." But a lot of that is because of what you did. That C quartz really brings it out.
Yeah, it does. And the whole trick of it is the preparation, like anything else. You know, whatever you're doing, painting a car or whatever,
Right.
It's the preparation. So you really have to find somebody that knows how to polish a car before you get any of these coatings, no matter what coating it is. The whole trick is the preparation, because it'll just magnify a defect like you wouldn't believe.
You don't want to magnify ugly.
I missed that, Dave. Sorry.
Said you don't want to magnify ugly.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Yeah, it'll just make ugly uglier. Because I've turned down probably just as many as I do. I turn down because there's just, you know,
No chance for 6 stars.
Chips and really deep scratches is just, I really wouldn't want the people to waste their money and be disappointed in it.
Right. All right, question for you, Mr. Mike. Do you have any pictures for us tonight?
I have no pictures. My IT person was extremely busy this week, so we didn't have a chance. But I do have a good tip for you.
Okay, we'll do that when we come back, okay?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. All
Thank
right,
you.
Dave Winward from Jasper Engines and Transmissions. Hey, Mr. Dave, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Jasper Engines and Transmissions, and also differentials, and they also do diesel engines. They do transfer cases. They do marine engines, which is really important right now. And if the automatic transmission business has got to be doing real well. So how is Jasper doing right now?
Doing great. You mentioned marine business. We have a closing percentage right now of 30% on our marine products, which is unheard of. It's we are moving them, and a lot of them, like the last show we did, I had shared some pictures of the frozen blocks, and a lot of them are coming back damaged because of the winter that we had. So, yeah, and I guess Dave's gone, so there you go.
I heard the whole thing. The dog was crying. He let me let in. He didn't want to sit out here in this beautiful weather, you know?
Gotcha. But yeah, we had a winner from the last week, the contest I did. I had another contest this evening, and I also had a quick, fun presentation on how we check for oil leaks at our factory when we're live run testing the engines, and also a cool DIY tip.
Yeah, let's do that right now, and then we'll do the contest when we come back to you.
Sure. So this is, I'm going to share a video. This is Eric Bakke from our gas production side of things, and he's going to show about the ultraviolet dye that we use. Let me bring this up.
Another exciting.
You there?
I was going to say another exciting Jasper Engines and Transmissions video.
Oh yeah, this one's the most exciting one I could find.
All right, get out your nose, folks, and just hang on. There you go.
Yeah, and it's only like 1 minute and 38 seconds long, so.
Okay. All right.
have a sip of coffee.
Hi, my name is Eric Bakke. I work for the Gas Engine Quality Department. Here we're looking at the test stand here where we live run all of our gas engines. This particular engine here is a 3.1 liter. Our process here is after we run the unit to 145-degree oil temperature, we monitor the oil pressure, we monitor the engine vacuum, and the gauge is behind me. Then as the process is finished there, we shut the engine down, and then we do a black light check. And I've got a black light here in my hand. I'm sure everyone's seen these here. It's a similar process as what you have in your own shop with a small amount of dye that goes into your oil system. Here it's metered into a 55-gallon drum and pumped through the system on a daily basis. As you can see here, we can go around and check for any type of external leaks along oil pans, along the rear seal if they pull the flywheel back. This particular application here, we can actually see leakage coming out of this oil line plug here in the back. So we give it a thorough examination. We'll actually lift the engine up out of the cart here that's on here and look at the bottom of the pan, make sure we don't have any cracks. Just do a double check on everything possible that could have an oil leak. This assures that every engine is built to quality standards and a perfect product every time.
There we go. Now, I can't believe that. A 3.1 liter V6 engine from General Motors, and we're talking oil leakage, and the word intake was not used once.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to share, the dye that we use, a lot of times, almost anything that's petroleum-based, whether it's transmission fluid, whether it's engine oil, differential fluid, power steering fluid, brake fluid even, and then it's pretty much the same stuff they use in the AC systems. I think that's a little bit finer and more refined. But when I was a mechanic years ago, we used to have these yellow glasses and this big UV light, and we'd pour the dye in. And I remember the bulb for that UV light cost about $75. And when that thing hit the floor, the service manager would hit the ceiling because he knew he had to buy a new bulb. But well, for all the viewers out there, if you go out and you pull your car back and you have some drips of oil and you're not sure what it is, it's really easy. You can go online. If you go to eBay, and this is interesting, these little flashlights here, they market these under the, if you just type in bed bug detection light. And basically you can carry these when you go on vacation. You turn out all the lights off in the hotel and you look at the bed, and it's actually a UV light. And this little thing probably works better than any UV light I've seen at any shop, and it's about $4.99. Wow. So, and they sell, you can pick up the dye, the little vials, maybe at AutoZone, at your local parts store, and then basically what I recommend, it's very important that the oil is perfectly clean. So get your oil changed, and then if you think it's an engine oil leak, you just pour this little vial of dye in, and then drive it around for a couple days, wait till it's the middle of the night when it's really dark, pop your hood, and then when you shine, it will glow, and you can see it from a mile away. So if you still have a leak after you've put it in your engine oil, it's probably not your engine oil. It might be transmission fluid or something else like that. So this technology has become very, very affordable and very easy for just the average DIY person to do at home.
Well, very great presentation, but what scares me, Dave, is you're going into hotel rooms and you're looking at beds with ultraviolet light. I don't know if I want to do that in my bed that I'm about to sleep in there.
Well, my mother-in-law actually got this for me. It was in my stocking, and I didn't know what it was, and she said it was a bed bug light, and I just happened to be at a shop one day, and they had their UV light out, and I walked out with this thing because I had it in my car, and they were amazed, and they're like $5. Yeah. And I just remember the nice UV lights were hundreds of dollars, 15, 20 years ago. So now, same, because it's actually they're LEDs, they're UV LEDs. So the technology has progressed that far.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dave. We're going to get back to you for your contest, and we'll let everybody know who won last week, and then also give out the contest information for this week, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Windward from Jasper Engines and Transmissions. We go now to the dynamic duo, Jose and Todd from Dynamic Automotive in Frederick. 3 locations to serve you. Jose and Todd, how are you, Jim?
Good. It's good to be here, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate that. Todd, good to have you back. And tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the shop.
It's broken loose. We have a little bit of everything going on right now.
Mr. Jose, working you like a rented mule, huh?
What's that?
I said Mr. Jose's working Todd like a rented mule.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, anywhere from doing bearings and clutches in an automatic transfer case, doing an overdrive unit in a Dodge diesel truck right now. Got a Dodge Sprinter van here right now. We're doing a bunch of just driveline repairs to it.
You sold that job on the Sprinter van, huh?
Yes, and more than likely the rest of it is going to happen too. So just the amount he needed to pass Maryland State inspection was approved, and he's going to move forward with the other stuff at a later date.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I bet you that was a healthy penny for him to get that through Maryland State inspection.
It certainly is, yeah.
Yeah, that estimate was about $5,500.
Wow, that's something that you have to explain to people when they think about going to an auction and buying a vehicle themselves. There's a old adage, if you're a professional and you go to the auction and you buy 50 cars a year at an auction, well, if you get stung on 4 or 5, it's not the end of the world. But if you go to an auction for one car for yourself and you get stung, it could sure feel like the end of the world.
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm glad to see that's getting done. I'm glad to see you got that job sold because that guy, he really needs to get that thing on the road and make some money with it.
Right. Yeah, and he's got the kind of business that will truly utilize this van in a positive manner. He can really improve his business with this type of vehicle.
Very good.
Yeah.
Jose, give out some information, if you would, about Dynamic Automotive and the 3 locations you have.
Sure. We have 3 locations in Frederick County. We are in the Libertytown location. You can reach us at 301-694-6250, and you'll find Todd and I here all the time. I have a New Market location, and that phone number is 301-694-5460, and you'll talk to my partner Lee Foreman and Sarah at that location. And our largest location is right off of 270 in Urbana. That phone number is 301-874-8833. That location boasts a 60-foot soft cloth car wash that Mr. Michael Lambert absolutely loves. And we have a quick lube facility up there where we perform BG services and a 9-bay shop that does everything from minor repairs to major repairs, and we use Jasper products there also.
Very good.
You'll talk to Big Bobby Allen at that location if you're lucky. If not, you'll talk to my partner Dwayne Myers. We took the opportunity while you were talking to the other guys to print out a schematic of the ignition system for the Taurus, and I'll let Todd describe it, and we can actually fax it to him if he'd like.
Yeah.
Sure. Dan's still with us in that case, so that's no problem. Dan, you're still with us, correct, buddy? Nope.
Looks like he left this chair, but his camera's still on.
Right. His chair is still with us, but
yeah.
Okay.
But Todd was correct about the ignition relay.
Yeah, it actually, the ignition coil is powered up by the PCM power relay. So, you could do a quick check right at the coil on pin number 4 to see what your in voltage is.
But I don't think that would be giving too much voltage, do you?
I wouldn't think so. I would think you'd be suffering other problems as well.
Right.
It would be battery voltage at that point. I would simply just check your output voltage of your alternator. Make sure it's nothing crazy like 20 volts or anything. But
you would find a battery by now, so in that situation. Very good. You got anything else for us tonight, Mr. Jose and Todd?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
I'm wearing him out. I am truly wearing this guy out. Yeah.
In other words, if you wouldn't have offered a seat in front of the TV screen, he wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah. And I keep bringing it in the door. And even when he doesn't look or doesn't know it, it's just coming on in. I'm sure we can handle it. Come on in.
You don't turn anything down.
That's and the one that's suffering is me. I've got a Cadillac over here, and I've got to put it's my own car, and I've got to put a transmission in this, and then I'm going to sell it because I cannot sell it in the condition it's in. I wouldn't feel right. So I'm going to put a transmission in it and fix it up and sell it. This Cadillac keeps getting put on the back burner and keeps getting put on the back burner because we're slammed, So actually, I'm the one that's suffering from that.
hear you. Well, wish you the best. Hang in just 1 second. We're going to be back with you in just a few minutes, okay?
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Back to Mr. Mike. Mike, did you hear them breaking up? Were they breaking up?
Yeah, just a little bit, not much.
Okay, I think what's happening is I'm on my outside wireless, and it may not be strong enough, so I
You have
apologize.
to raise your arm.
Yeah, man. Okay, there we go. All right, I got the antenna up.
There you
Hey,
go.
okay, so what do you have for us? You got a tip of the night for us?
Yes, I do. I've had several people call me from the major market radio show that we do on the weekends, and they want to
Thank you so
know
much.
how to wash their car if they have to wash it outside and they don't have a lot of shade. So the easiest way I can tell you is this is
Okay.
called a foam gun. It looks like what you would spray your lawn with insecticide with, but it's strictly for doing car wash. And it comes with a nozzle, and it's a quick disconnect here. And what I do is you mix up your wash solution in the bottle, attach it to your hose, obviously. Rinse off the car first with just the nozzle. Put the foam gun attachment on the nozzle, and then start at the top of the car. And you'll take and use the foam gun instead of your 2-bucket method, but in your foam gun with your wash mitt, and kind of aim it into the wash mitt as you go. Can you all see that? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that eliminates a lot of scratching, the chance for scratching. You don't need 2 buckets of water. When you're done with the foam, you go one section at a time and rinse it off, and that should get your car done real fast, so you're not out in bright sunlight and get water spots and things like that.
And that's okay to do in the sun.
Yeah, you really don't want to wash a car in the sun when it's hot, but if you have to, like you're in a condo or something, or your house, you just don't have any shade, that's probably the best way. You just got to go fast, because you really don't want anything drying on the car. And I do that. I wash my car the same way with that. Black cars, real sensitive paints. It's really nice to have the foam gun to eliminate a lot of friction. I foam all the cars before I wash them by hand anyway. It just helps to loosen up the dirt, so the whole thing is minimizing scratching.
Very good. And where can we get these tools?
Any place that sells detailing supplies on the internet and all, they run about $50, but they come with the nozzle and the quick disconnects and everything like that.
Great. All right. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mike.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate
And they'll last a long time. Mine are probably 3 or 4 years old, so they're nice tools to have.
And you use them almost every day.
Yeah, at least every day.
Very good. All right, Guy. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you being with us. We'll be back in just 1 second to say
My
goodbye.
pleasure.
Mr. Dave Windward back with us. Dave, you got the contest for us, right?
Yeah. Let me share this first. We had a picture of a funny-looking station wagon last time, and if I hit this button, the video starts to play. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you watch it again. I'll stop it. Yeah, I figured that. So this was the... There. So do you guys know what that is? I'm sure you do.
It's those exciting guys in Jasper, Indiana.
Is the picture showing up, Dave?
Yes, it's wagon.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm breaking up or if you're breaking up.
Is it a hearse?
Nah, it's just an old Edsel wagon.
Very good. Hello.
Can you hear me, Mike?
I can hear it. It's Dave. I think he needs to get the aluminum foil and put his hand up
Yeah.
in the air.
He needs a Pringles can.
He needs that hat from the movie
Yeah.
Aliens. The tinfoil hat.
All right. Well, here.
Dave, you might want to sneak back closer to your Wi-Fi router. I think you're getting some kind of Wi-Fi issue.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that, though. We're just hanging there. Sorry about that, guys.
Well, guys, what I'll do is I will now share the contest of the week. Let me see if I can get this up. Let me see. What is this? Let me get this out of the way. There we go. So what is this funny-looking thing off to my? There we go. It is it's some kind of funny-looking thing that might be on a boat. So we do remanufacture these things. If you can tell me, obviously it's a Yamaha. But if you can, the first person to email me, jasperman73@gmail.com, gets this awesome vintage retro hipster T-shirt.
Limited.
What do you look? Are you looking for like a model number or the one word of the thing?
General, just a general. What is that thing?
Okay.
It's pretty.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one.
It's obviously a fish tank.
Yeah.
With Dan Tom, can you still kind of explain to Dan what's on the schematic of the for his car?
Yeah, try it again, Dave.
Oh, I think.
Okay.
Todd, the schematic.
What we're trying to do is, yeah, we've got Dan back. Can you talk about the schematic once again? What you saw on that? I guess I'm so sorry, guys. Well,
Okay, so yeah, he's asking you. He said you discovered. You looked at the schematic of the Ford Taurus, and you have a possibility on, I guess the ECM or a relay or a module or something.
Yes.
Yeah, on your Taurus, I was correct in thinking that the power supply for the ignition coil is actually external of the engine control module or the computer. The engine computer and the ignition coil share the same power supply, which is the PCM power relay. It's kind of unlikely that it would be a high voltage situation, but you could test it by simply putting a voltmeter across your battery with the engine running.
Okay.
Anything under, say, 14.5 volts is, perfectly fine. You would have to see, 15, 16, 20 volts on the battery itself to even be a possibility of being the cause of the ignition coil failures.
Do all you guys agree with Dave that it is a good move? The first step should be to put 6 new Motorcraft plugs and Motorcraft wires and a new ignition coil.
Motorcraft.
Yes.
Because that's most likely the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know at what mileage and at what time frame did the first failure occur?
Probably about $120. It's gotten its use, 120,000 or so. It's about 130,000 now.
So within 10,000 miles, you've put a half a dozen or more ignition coils on this.
6. And new wires and new plugs.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of plugs have you been using?
I honestly don't know. Probably some. I was going to say something I can't say on a family-friendly program. That's the old radio guy. I mean, I just tell myself some kind of
Aftermarket.
some non-OEM made in a big go by big box retail store. Probably a house brand from AutoZone.
I don't know if you guys hear me now. Spark plugs are probably the most essential part of the AutoZone. We'll throw another brand. We always, at our shop, use OEM spark plugs. I won't put anything else in. If Autolite makes it for Motorcraft, I'll do that. But I won't put champion for the game with AC Go, and I'll put AC Delta, the car that comes with a motor.
Yeah, I think I understood what he was saying that with Ford and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. With Ford, you could use Autolite spark plugs, which is a very good Motorcraft substitute. With GM products, you want to stick with AC Delca. With Chrysler products, it's Champion across the board, and with most of your Hondas and your Toyotas, etc., you're going to be using NGKs, Denso, etc. for those vehicles.
I agree with the Autolite are the manufacturers. Well, you can use them. They're almost identical. So that's the same time with the watch.
What do you say, Jose?
Well,
I didn't catch that.
Jose, I'm going to call my friends at the UN and have you hired to be a translator because you can translate anything. You're hired.
I'm trying to turn the captions on.
The bottom line is with spark plugs, they're even the best are like $6 or $7, so it's something you can afford the best, right? It's not like buying a watch or a car. You know, maybe you can't afford a Tesla, but you can afford the best spark plugs out there.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And like Dave said, it's one of the most. It's probably the most important thing. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean,
That and the brakes.
spark plugs, but also properly gapped. If you've got a spark plug that has an excessive amount of gap, that is going to put an additional load on that ignition coil, and that could be part of the failure. So definitely check your gaps, set them when you get the correct plugs, and put them in.
Aren't they really good at that now, though?
You would think, but no. You
Derek,
always have to check them.
You always have to check them during shipping. Gaps spark plugs can get bounced around and it'll affect the gap. So it's always wise to check them with the feeler gauge.
What's the proper way to adjust the gap? Do you bend it a little bit in and then slide it in there, or you just slide it in and make sure it's a tight fit, or what's the best way to do that?
Go ahead.
You know, we use feeler gauges. It's like a spark plug gapping tool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it needs to be a snug fit. I mean, it's not like you have to use two hands and, you know, ram it down on there, but you know, it's a firm fit. I mean, when you run the spark plug down the gapping tool.
I would say a snug fit, like he was saying. Snug is what you're looking for to properly gap the spark plugs. And the fact that you're going back with Motorcraft products across the board here, you're setting a good baseline for this repair. If the coil were to blow again, then you do have something else within the system, the management system, causing the problem. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I'm interested, very interested, to know what the outcome is. So if you could rejoin us.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
I know you guys love a good mystery.
Yeah. This is all part of the analytical side of all of us here. We like a good diagnostic challenge and see if we can hit this right on the head of the nail and solve the problem. And if we don't, we'd like to follow through to see if we could eventually find out what the problem is.
Sure. It'd be my pleasure to help get my car fixed.
Jose and Todd, would you recommend to when you're closing the gap, if it's a little bit too, not to smash it against like the table or smash it?
No.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Bang
on something.
Properly, Dave.
Yeah, we actually use the hydraulic press for that.
I've probably spent, I can't even tell you how much I've spent on this so far. That's why I make the Johnny Cash one piece at a time song analogy, because really it's frustrating though. You know, if you go to the dealer, it could cost God knows how much if it's a non-warranty issue, and then
especially if they're throwing your money at the problem.
yeah. Hey, don't worry about it. It's Dan's money, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not impugning our local dealers at all. I'm just, but you know, it's a nice car. I've gotten, like I said, I bought it in 07. Of course, in 07 was really made in 06, right? And it was, I bought it used. It had 29,000 miles on it, so I put about 100,000 miles on it. I think I paid like 15 for it. So I've gotten my money's out, but you know, really that's only 3 issues. It still rides nice, got nice tires, you know.
Right.
I probably need that treatment for my exterior that you guys were talking about. What is the spelling on that, by the way, Michael?
If you go to, they have their own website. It's cqfinest.com.
I was trying different Google searches. I tried SEACOURT, SECORT, so it's CQ.
cqfinest.com. That'll take you right to their website.
Okay.
There is a guy down in your area, because it's only available to authorized people, so it's not like a widespread thing. But I'm sure there's a guy down in your area.
Awesome. Hey, Dave's sending me texts asking me if I can close the show out for him. I think he's completely off the internet right now. But does anyone else have anything to throw out there?
That's how things Bill.
Okay. Well, I'll close the show down. Thank you, Dan, for joining us tonight. In behalf of Dave Serio from You Ought to Know and You Ought to Know Live, Jose, Todd, Mr. Mike Lambert from the Shine Shop, thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for our viewers. And we'll catch you next week the same time, and make sure you tune in to Dave Serio on his radio program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
YouAutoKnow.com.